Xander, if you would, why don't you bring this distinguished gentleman on? That would be Sal Paolantonio, the host of the NFL Matchup Show, noted author and a Sunday game analyst on ESPN Radio. Sal, how you doing?
Pat, week 8, Pat. Exciting time to be in the NFL, I'll tell you that. Because, we are a one-score league now, Pat. We are officially a one-score league. Games
one-score meaning margin of victory, you mean?
Yeah. The NFL games are being decided by the smallest margin in history.
Yeah.
The lowest number of points are being scored per game, per team. In the 15 years that they've been keeping it since, and I tell you, it is it's something. It is something. It is very, very difficult to win these games now. It really is hard.
Yeah.
And what the Eagles did against Miami was amazing. It really was. So you're missing your top 2 safeties. You're missing your slot corner.
Right.
Your quarterback comes out in the second half with a knee brace.
Right.
And you just shut down the Miami Dolphins in the second half, a team that came in as a trailblazing offense.
Yeah.
And the reason they did it like this, Pat, they played a lot of deep coverage and they blitzed in front of it. They broke down the protection and protected the house. Right. So this is the difference between Sean Desai and Jonathan Gannon.
Right.
You cannot possibly overstate the terrific job that Sean Desai and his staff have done. Pat, they've had 15 different guys start a game in the secondary. That's the most in the league. Yeah. And they're 6-1.
Yeah.
That's what an unbelievable job of getting these players ready week to week. And last week, the only real big play they gave up was the safety didn't give help to the corner and Tyreek Hill leaks out.
Right.
And on the 9 route, and Tua just throws it up there. That's been basically Tua's offense.
Right. That's right.
It's Tyreek Hill get behind the defense and throw it up there. And what happened to that safety? That safety's playing in Nashville now. That safety is gone. He's out of here.
Howie did not wait. Yeah, he isn't waiting long about that. I'm going to ask you about that. Sal, 37 minutes to 23, the Eagles had the advantage in time of possession. And if you look at the stats, it doesn't seem as much what the offense was doing. They ran the ball 34 times, but only for 99 yards. I think it was the defense just did a hell of a job of getting the Dolphins off the field.
They got them off the field. But remember the Dick Vermeil postulate of winning games. We talked about this on your radio show for nearly 20 years.
Turnovers.
No. The number of carries plus the number of completions. You add those two up. Yeah. Number of carries plus the number of completions. Right. If you add those two up and you're over 50, you win 90% of the time.
Right.
Unless, of course, you turn the ball over like they did against the Jets.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And they certainly passed the 50 mark there because, as I mentioned, they ran the ball 34 times. And Hurts had a good game. It's amazing how high the bar is for Jalen Hurts. I mean, if he doesn't reinvent the game, then the position every time he goes out there, people are casting aspersions at him. Now, before we get to him, though, Sal, one question before we go to break is Eagles now are in D.C., and here we go. Classic trap game, Dallas looming Sunday night, or when I think that game, I think it's a Sunday night game. Dallas and Philadelphia, and Sal, it's not a rivalry anymore between the Eagles and the Commanders. Even though Washington rises up and gives the Eagles a tough time, particularly in Philadelphia, Eagles have won 10 of the last 12. How big a trap game is this for Philly?
Well, you talk to professional athletes, and they don't believe in the trap game. I believe in the trap game. And I think you're right. I believe that when you just won on Sunday Night Football and you have Dallas coming in, Hurts versus Dak for the first time ever on November 5th, you could look past Washington. The reason why I think this team does not have trap games, the Jets game was just a bad game.
Right.
So I'm not going to say they had a trap game there yet. It's because Jalen Hurts is really good at being resilient and determined and focused week to week. He does not let his guard down. and neither does Sirianni.
Yeah. Oh, Sirianni, I agree with you about that. I agree with you. And the same thing with Hurts. So when we get back, Sal, I want to ask you more about Jalen Hurts and his knee, some different opinions about that. I'll get your take on that. And then I want to spend a little time on the legacy of the Washington football team, and then we'll look around the league. We're going to do all that.
Sure, we can do that, Pat, if you want to.
Wow, thanks. We're going to do that with the great Sal Paolantonio when we get back here on This Week in Pro Football, presented by Kennedy Ford. Welcome back This Week in Pro Football. Pat Callahan here on JAKIB Sports YouTube channel with the great Sal Paolantonio from ESPN Sports. Sal, the matchup show coming up Sunday. What do you got lined up?
I got you, Pat. Go ahead.
All right, I'm saying it. The matchup show coming up Sunday. What's on the agenda there?
Well, we got a guest host. We got Coley Harvey hosting the show this week with Greg Cosell and Darius Butler. So it's going to be interesting. But I would think, week 8, the focus has got to be on, these teams that are in the so-called spotlight of where the NFL is right now. And that would be the Philadelphia Eagles, the 49ers, the Miami Dolphins, and of course, the Dallas Cowboys.
Yep. Listen, before we go any further, I want to remind everybody that Sal Pao, the gentleman right in front of you there, is going to be honored this coming Wednesday, November 1st, as the recipient of the Dick Vermeil Lifetime Achievement Award at the Otho Davis Foundation Scholarship Organization dinner. There are some tickets available. I want everybody to check that out. Go to the foundation, Otho Davis Foundation. You can look that up, check it out. It's a great night. As Sal Pao says, it's big Philadelphia football night. And everybody who's anybody in Philadelphia football is going to be there honoring this guy. So I want everybody to check that out. And as Sal says, too, the Otho Davis Foundation, a pretty good, a great cause and a worthy charity, right?
Well, Pat, I'm first of all humbled and honored to be part of this dinner. It's the 25th annual banquet of the Otho Davis Foundation organization. They have raised nearly $1 million over those 25 years. It's the #1 foundation for athletic trainers across the country. As everybody knows, Otho Davis is, in my view, a Hall of Fame worthy contributor to the National Football League. He was a trailblazer in athletic training. He has proteges all over the NFL. And this dinner is what I call football night in Philly. And there are well over 400 people attending. It's at the Society Hill Marriott, the Old City Marriott in Society Hill. They have a huge banquet room, and they do a great job at that hotel. It's a wonderful night. All the luminaries in pro football. Commissioner Paul Tagliabue will be an honored guest.
Right.
There's going to be everybody and anybody from the Phillies, Flyers, and Eagles there. So if you can't go, but if you can, buy a ticket for somebody else who can go, or make a donation to this really worthy charity that I've been involved in for 25 years.
All right. Well done. Well done. And congratulations to you on that award. Well deserved. Sal Pao.
Otho Davis almost he saved me from getting into a fist fight with Rich Kotite in the Eagles locker room. I'll tell you that story one day, Pat. We'll tell that story one day on This Week in Pro Football.
You'll have to do that. We should have done that when they played the Jets. But that's got to be a great story. All right, listen. Speaking of stories, Mike Florio comes out and on ProFootballTalk.com. Here's a quote talking about Jalen Hurts, who did put a knee brace on in the second half of the game Sunday night, but is not listed on the Eagles injury report for this week. Florio says, quote, "The Eagles are clearly concealing it from the official injury report." Now, you were there, and Hurts he's in remarkable physical shape. He's not on the injury report. What's your take on this?
Well, I go back to what Jeremy Fowler of ESPN reported, and he has reported 24 hours ago. Multiple sources maintain the Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts' knee injury from last week is not serious. There's no structural damage to the knee. He was managing some discomfort in Sunday's win over Miami and thus wore a knee brace in the second half. which was considered a precautionary measure. This is from Jeremy Fowler. The team will monitor how he feels during the week to determine whether he needs to have the brace on Sunday against Washington. Either way, the situation is considered minor, and Hurts will remain in the lineup, barring surprise. So, Pat, the bottom line is we will watch Jalen Hurts very closely on Sunday.
Right.
We will watch his movement, his explosiveness, his ability to get away from the rush, his power in the brotherly shove, push-tush play. Remember, he came out with a knee brace in the second half against the Dolphins, ran the brotherly shove twice on fourth down in the Eagles' territory in the fourth quarter, down by only 7 points, and was successful.
Right.
So
Right.
I work on the evidence. I'm not going to get into all of the internecine politics of the injury report or any of that. That's for somebody way above my pay grade. I'm looking at the football. And Guy's football play has not dropped off that I can see, other than the lack of explosiveness and him moving a little more slowly and wincing in pain when he does at the end of that game.
Okay. All right, Sal, sticking with the Eagles for just a minute. This week, they trade for Kevin Byard, the longtime safety of the Tennessee Titans, and they bring in Julio Jones as another option at receiver. Is there anything you read into those two acquisitions, for instance, that the Eagles are really committed to taking their shot in 2023?
Oh, they're taking their shot. But, Howie Roseman is always taking his shot.
Right.
I was at the Sunday night game. I'm in the press box. I'm talking to two longtime scouts who I've known for a long time, and I'm talking to them about players who are rumored to be on the trade block. And I said to one of them, "Do you think the Eagles will be involved?" And he said to me, "The Eagles are always involved. That's Howie's MO. He's always involved on every quality player." Lo and behold, the next day, Kevin Byard is in an Eagles uniform. I know Kevin Byard a little bit. Not a lot. I've interviewed him about half dozen times. I've talked to him on the field and on the sideline. Kevin Byard can play football at a high level.
Right.
He's a great teammate. He is tough, and he is available, and he makes big plays, and he's not afraid to stick his head in there and make a big tackle. Kevin Byard is a big addition to this football team. I think you could say Kevin Byard is like Jay Ajayi in the Super Bowl year. That's the quality kind of player that you got.
Right. And it's funny because you mentioned it. The Dolphins' lone offensive touchdown came on that one breakdown. And lo and behold, 48 hours later, this guy's an Eagle. So, I'd say
it came down on the breakdown.
React.
The safety didn't get help to Bradbury.
Yeah.
And, that's the whole Dolphins offense.
Right.
Right? Tyreek Hill, go run a 9 round.
I know.
Run behind everybody, and I will throw it out there.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that Howie Roseman saw that and said, "Okay, this is our weak spot. I've seen enough. Let's go get this guy." And then, there's a pipeline between Nashville and Philadelphia.
I know.
With AJ Brown and now Kevin Byard. Let's keep the pipeline open and let's bring in Derrick Henry. Let's keep the spigot open and bring in Derrick Henry. That's my view.
All right. Sal, just another word I want to get from you, because you and I go back a long way, and I know you've stood on many a sideline, and you're a football historian like me. It just struck me that you and I often chide, or everybody does, the Dallas Cowboys haven't been to an NFC title game since 1995, and that's almost 30 years. Well, the other NFC team in the East, the Washington Commanders, haven't been there since 91. And yet they fly so far under the radar that no one even comments on it. Given the change in ownership that just happened, do you see better days ahead for a franchise that, Sal, since 1992 is 204 and 285? Do you see better times ahead for this group?
Not in the near future. I do not. So they're in a state of limbo. All teams that change ownership like this are in a state of limbo. The ownership is coming in and looking at everything. So that's number one. You're looking
Right.
at head coach, the coaching staff, the quarterback, all players. You're looking at salary cap, general manager, the whole shebang. So that's where they are. So right now they are in a reconfigure mode. The problem with the team right now is you have a first-year offensive line coach coaching an offensive line that has been beset with injuries, trying to protect the quarterback who holds the ball way too long in Sam Howell.
Right.
And so the young man is sacked at an historically high rate.
40 times so far this year. Right.
They can't get anything going on offense, especially in the first half, and they're always behind as a result. And you've got a guy named Jack Del Rio running the defense who's experienced, knows what he's doing, but can't seem to get these players to play at a high level. They do have some defensive players. They don't have enough, but they do have some.
Right.
But they're playing from behind, Pat, all the time. It's amazing to me they took the Eagles into overtime. Amazing. It really is.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have happened if the Eagles had run the ball instead of throw a touchdown pass to A.J. Brown. The game would have been over already.
Right.
And,
Correct.
But so the Eagles always fool around with Washington.
It's funny you say that. You're right.
They just fool around with Washington. They put their foot down on the Giants.
Yeah.
They demoralize the Cowboys, but they're always just fooling around, letting Washington hang around. I don't think that will happen this weekend. I don't. Yeah. Depending on what happens with Jalen's knee, I don't think that happens this weekend.
All right, Sal. Just a word. Let's look around the league here with Sal Pal. I got a couple minutes left with you. I thought it was funny, Sal. You and I have been talking about this brotherly shove and the talk around the league about banning it. Monday night, if you were watching, the Vikings tried it, and Kirk Cousins looked like a folded up newspaper hitting the front step of the 2 times he tried it. And then Brock Purdy tries it, and Sal, that's where he got the concussion. I don't know if you saw it, but the overhead look clearly shows that he got smashed into when he tried that sneak. I don't think the league's going to do anything with this because it's obvious to anybody clinically looking at it that the Eagles just do it well and no one else does, right?
And, Nick Sirianni said it. If everybody could do it, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
But Pat, folded up newspaper hitting the bottom of the screen door. Now, Pat, that's old school right there.
Well, I mean, not bad, Sal. Pretty descriptive. You can use it.
Yeah, I like it. So you're absolutely right. That's a great description of what Kirk Cousins looked like. Here's the thing. The Eagles have perfected a nearly unstoppable play because they have great offensive line coaching and play. It takes synchronicity.
Right.
And I'm not talking about the old band, the Police. It takes synchronicity, okay?
Yeah.
And it also takes a quarterback who can squat 600 pounds.
Oh, there you go. That's the thing. That's correct. That's what it takes. I don't think Kirk Cousins quite reaches that number, Sal, in the weight room.
I don't know what his workout regimen. It was on Netflix this summer to a certain degree. Mostly it was about him repairing his body, the workout of Patrick Mahomes. But you're also right that if everybody could do it, everybody would do it. I agree with. I'm not sure it won't be banned. I think.
All right. I'll be curious to see.
I think there's a movement afoot to point to the injuries and say this is an unsafe play. I don't agree with that. I don't see a plethora of injuries. They've been running the quarterback sneak forever. And Tom Brady lasted 20 years. And there was nobody who ran the quarterback sneak better than him. He never got hurt once. Got hurt.
You're not going to confuse Brady with Jalen Hurts. Sal, one other thing before I let you go, just take 1 minute. I just wanted to touch on the Green Bay Packers. I mean, they managed to put up a 0 in the first half against the 32nd ranked defense in Denver. And they also played terribly against the Las Vegas Raiders. What is going on, in your opinion, in the storied football capital of Green Bay, and can they get it fixed?
Pat, if you're going to ask me that question, you're going to have to channel your inner Vince Lombardi and give it to me in the Vince Lombardi voice. What in the world's going on out there?
What the hell's going on out there?
And
That's right.
that's what you want right now is you need somebody like Vince Lombardi to straighten them out. The quarterback's throwing it to the wrong team, and the defense is grabbing. Everybody's grabbing. There's no tackling going on.
That's classic. Everybody grab, grab, grab. You're exactly right. Look at you reaching way back. I'm proud of you. Proud of you, Sal. It's not looking good in Green Bay. Not looking good at all.
No, and the Bears are recharged. The Packers could easily finish last in that division. The Vikings are playing better.
Yeah, look at the Vikings. Yeah. Very interesting. All right, listen, Sal Pal, thanks a lot for joining me for such an extended period of time. Very excited about coming to the dinner Wednesday night. Congratulations to you. Everybody check out the Otto Davis Foundation. And Sal, we will talk to you next week, all right?
All right, Pat. Have a great show. Thank you for having me on your program.
All right. The great Sal Paolantonio joining me there. The next great one is already looming. I can see him leering at me, and that's Sean Green from Bet SGPN. We're going to bring Sean on. We're going to talk about 3 games that I have in mind, including Philadelphia and Washington, and get some props out of Sean. We'll do that next on This Week in Pro Football, presented by Kennedy Ford.